I will call this meeting to order, and I will ask that we be led in a moment of prayer by Commissioner Atkins, please.
My privilege. I also guess is my payback for being tardy, right? Most gracious and almighty God, we thank you for such a lovely day. We thank you for this opportunity to meet in such a safe place. We thank you for those who are on the front lines defending us so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy. And we pray a special prayer tonight that you will lead, guide, and direct the things that we do in this assembly, and that those things be pleasing in thy sight. It's in his name I pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. I'd like for the captains of the three teams stand up, please. Don't have captains? Huh? Where are the seniors? Let me see. Seniors, stand up. All right, seniors. There you go. Good deal. Seniors, come up right up here. I'm going to ask you all to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited.
Oh, you remember that, right? On these? Yeah.
All right, somebody start us off.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Yeah, that did sound good. Should we do that again? Commission, you've had the agenda in front of you since last Friday. Are there any amendments to this agenda?
Mayor, looks like we have some additions. Do we want to make note of those?
We do.
Okay.
We have a proclamation for the Garden Club. That is one addition. You thinking of something different?
I have an addition.
Yes,
I'd like
sir.
to add to the agenda the commissioner salary increases that we just went through.
Okay. Do you have a particular place that you would like to put that on the agenda?
Well, we can, number 8, the H spot would be just fine.
Okay, well, we'll put it after number, we'll call it 7.5. How's that?
Okay. And then because we can anticipate some long discussions, lengthy discussions, I'd like to suggest we move the proclamations in honoring our state champions to the top of the agenda.
So you're suggesting that we do that before the hear of the public? Let me ask a quick show of hands. Who intends to do the hear of the public tonight? Just one?
I'll be short.
And I'll be
3
Mike.
minutes. 3 minutes.
We'll make that happen.
All right.
If that's all there, Mr. Atkins, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
If we only got one
And what was
commission,
the
is that
second
all
one?
right?
Another proclamation, right?
Okay. So we are in that section of the meeting called Hear the Public. This is the public's opportunity to have 3 minutes at the microphone about any item that is on the agenda. There'll be an opportunity later on for the public to have 3 minutes at the podium for any subject that is not on the agenda. So, floor is open. Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve Knight. Just wanted to, since I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole meeting, I want to congratulate all the state champions in the room. It's fantastic. The thing that I wanted to mention, I hope that this is on the agenda, not speaking out of turn, but I'm assuming in the proposed budget is information about the various community functions and things that'll be funded, and I just wanted to come and express my desire that I'd hope you would consider to fully fund the GABBF at its past level rather than cutting its budget. I'd like to give that festival the opportunity to get it kind of its feet back under it, if you will, and I think it needs full funding right now in order to make that happen. It certainly contributes so much to the community, and there's so much community involvement. It's one of the big positives we have in our community with gathering so many members of the community that may not participate in any other way, and I think it's very valuable from that respect, and I would just encourage you to consider fully funding the GABBF Festival.
So
That's
noted.
it. Thank you.
sir. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right into item 1. This is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that being May 14th. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move for approval of the minutes of meeting of May 14th, 2018, as presented.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Now, we'll move right on into the proclamation for the Boyle County High School Girls Kentucky High School Athletic Association Class 2A Track State Champions. Stand up. Let me see who you are.
Repeat. That's a three-peat. You want me to read it?
Huh? Go ahead.
I'm going to read it since I'm a rebel.
Since you're a what?
I'm a rebel.
Oh.
I'm not reading it because I am rebelling. I'm reading it because I am a Boyle County rebel. Boyle County Rebels Girls State Track and Field 2018 KSHAA Class 2A State Champions. Whereas the Boyle County High School Rebels Girls Track and Field team had an outstanding year representing Boyle County High School and the community, the City Commission would like to congratulate them in their outstanding accomplishments in 2018. And whereas the Boyle County Rebels ended the regular season by winning the regional championship and then went on to compete in the KSHAA Class 2A Track and Field Championships on Friday, May 18th and Saturday, May 19th, 2018 at the University of Kentucky. And whereas the Boyle County Rebels finished their season by winning the KSHAA Class 2A State Championship for the third consecutive year and are one of only 18 girls teams in the state to three-peat. The City Commission would like to congratulate the team and coaches on their outstanding success and representation of Danville Boyle County. And whereas the Boyle County Rebel track and field team players are outstanding role models to the youth of Danville and Boyle County, all of the members are applauded for their exemplary attitude and contributions both on and off the field. And whereas the Boyle County High School girls track and field team members and coaches are shining examples of focus and dedication to be the best they can be as a team, coming together to accomplish great things, they are to be commended. Now therefore, Mayor G. Michael Parris and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville on this 29th day of May 2018 do hereby congratulate the 2018 KSHAA Class 2A State Championship Boyle County Rebel Girls Track and Field Team on their three-peat and encourage the citizens of Danville to congratulate them on their many accomplishments, success, and representation of Danville, Kentucky. And I believe if someone correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they are the first female team to ever win a state championship at Boyle County.
Yeah, that's great. How about the coach? Where's the coach? Coach, what are you doing? Come up. Here, take that to him. Take that to him. Okay, I'm going to hand this mic around. Why don't you say who you are, what your event was, and if you're a senior, if you're what? If you're a senior, want to know what your plans are.
Hi, my name is Amelia Fogel. I run the 800 and I'm on the 4x8, and I plan to attend Center College in the fall and major in chemistry and minor in Spanish.
Good.
I'm Peyton Bug. I'm in 7th grade, and I ran the 4x1 and did long jump.
I'm Rebecca Hagan. I'm a junior, and I throw shot put.
I'm Riley Sequeira. I'm a freshman, and I high jump.
I'm Lindsay Warner. I'm a freshman, and I did the 4x1.
I'm Becca Tarter. I'm a senior, and I did the high jump, triple jump, and long jump. And I'm planning on attending Washington University in St. Louis in the fall, and I'm going to be doing art and design.
Brooke Hoffman, senior. I did shot and disc, and I plan to go to Campbellsville University to major in criminal justice.
My name is Chelsea Moore. I'm a senior. And I ran the 400, 4x2, 4x4, and I plan on going to WKU this fall.
I'm Ashley Smith, and I'm a junior, and I did discus and pole vault.
Denasia Patton, I'm a sophomore. I did the 100, 200, 4x2, and 4x4.
Chelsea Elmore, I'm a junior. I did the 100, 200, 4x2, and 4x4.
I'm Kaylee Lanigan. I'm a sophomore, and I did the 100 hurdles, the 4x2, the 300 hurdles, and the 4x4.
I'm Emma Jackson, an 8th grader, and I did the 4x8.
I'm Elliot Anderson. I'm a junior, and I did the 4x8 and the 2 mile.
All right. Let's get the coach in here. Let's have him really tell us what he thinks about you.
Winning 3 in a row is a big deal. Extremely proud of their hard work, extremely proud of their dedication. Just at the end of the day, I'm extremely proud of them. They did a fantastic job, worked hard every day. They were not complacent, came to practice, worked hard. If we set the expectation up here, they met it. And this is a big deal for the kids, our parents, our school system, the community, and the sport of track and field itself. So thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you. And congratulations. Well done. Thank you, ladies. I believe there's cake and ice cream. No ice cream, just cake and all the stuff you couldn't eat during the season. It's out there now. You want to do the next one? Okay. All right, we have another proclamation. I'm sorry, yes, we need a motion to accept this, please.
Go ahead.
I move to accept the proclamation.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second? And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 3 is a proclamation for Boyle County boys. Stand up, gentlemen. Front and center, gentlemen.
Come on down.
Come on down. I'm going to let Commissioner Terry read the honors.
This is the proclamation for the Boyle County Rebels Boys Track and Field 2018 KSHAA Class 2A State Champions. Whereas the Boyle County High School Rebel Boys Track and Field team had an outstanding year representing Boyle County High School and the community, the City Commission would like to congratulate them on their outstanding accomplishments in 2018. Whereas the Boyle County Rebels ended the regular season by winning the regional championship and then went on to compete in the KSHAA Class 2A Track and Field Championships on Friday, May 18th and Saturday, May 19th, 2018 at the University of Kentucky. And whereas the Boyle County Rebels finished their season by winning the KSHAA Class 2A State Championship for the first time in school history. The City Commission would like to congratulate the team and coaches on their outstanding year in representation of Danville, Boyle County. And whereas the Boyle County Rebel track and field team players are outstanding role models to the youth of Danville and Boyle County, all of the members are applauded for their exemplary attitude and contributions both on and off the field. And whereas the Boyle County High School boys track and field team members and coaches are shining examples of focus and dedication to be the best they can be as a team, coming together to accomplish great things, they are to be commended. Now therefore, Mayor G. Michael Parris and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville, on this 29th day of May 2018, do hereby congratulate the 2018 KSHAA Class 2A State Championship Boyle County Rebel Boys Track and Field Team, and encourage the citizens of Danville to congratulate them on their success and representation of Danville, Kentucky. And I believe it's the same coach, right? Yeah, yeah. He coaches both.
Get out of the way again.
Now we're on. Okay. Let's see how smart you are. Can you do the routine just like the ladies did it?
I'm Jackson Cox. I'm a junior. I do the 4x800 meter relay, the 800 meter run, and the 4x400 meter relay.
I'm Ezekiel Harless. I'm a junior, and I did the 4x8 and the 2 mile.
My name is Trey Gilliland. I'm a senior. I did the 4x8 800. I'll be attending Columbia University and majoring in computer science.
I'm Tyler Smith, senior manager, photographer, and videographer for the team. I'm going to go to UK to pursue a career in physical therapy.
I'm Caleb Jackson. I'm a junior, and I did the 110 and 300 hurdles.
I'm Marquise Kinley. I'm a sophomore. I did the 4x1, long jump, and triple jump.
I'm Chris Duffy. I'm a junior. I did the 4x1, the 4x2, the 4x4, and the 200.
I'm Landon Bartleson. I done the 100, 200, 4x1, and the 4x2.
Wait a minute, guys. Tell us where you're going. What's the next step?
Oh, I'm a sophomore. My bad. My bad.
Next step's junior.
I'm Derek Bernard, and I did pole vaults, and I'm going to WKU to be a chiropractor and continue track.
My name is Peter Shipley. I'm a senior. I did the 110 hurdles, 300 hurdles, and the 4x4. And I'm going to Center College to pursue a degree in business and also run track there.
Hey, my name is Will Infeld. I'm a junior, and my event was triple jump.
I'm Mal Callahan. I did the 4x800 meter relay with those three. And I'm senior, and I'm going to be going to UK to study electrical engineering.
I'm Gray Rabaney, and I did the 4x2 and 4x4, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Seth Stomberger. I'm a junior, and I did the 2 mile.
Coach, you're on.
Very proud of the guys. Last year they came in fourth as a team, but they came into the season ready to go, and they were hungry, and they flat out got after it. They scored 110 points at the state meet. It was a very, as a team, it was very impressive, along with the ladies. Very proud of you guys. Once again, thank you for the opportunity. It's a big deal for our school, our community, and the sport of track and field itself.
Coaches and players all get one of these.
Everybody gets a pen. These are made out of 24-karat solid gold plastic. Don't lose them. Gentlemen, thank you. Congratulations. Well done.
I'll move to accept this proclamation for the Boyle County Rebels Boys Track and Field Championship.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 4. Gentlemen, in the blue, up front.
Ladies too, though. She's assistant coach. She's assistant coach.
What y'all doing hanging back? Everybody.
Bring on the coaches.
Bring on the coaches. I tell you what, let me have coaches over here.
Uh-oh. What you doing, pretty girl?
There we go. This is a proclamation for the Danville High School Boys Track and Field 2018 Kentucky High School Athletic Association Class 1A State Champions. Whereas the Danville High School Admiral Boys Track and Field team had an outstanding year representing Danville High School and the community. The City Commission would like to congratulate them on their outstanding accomplishments in 2018, and whereas the Danville Admirals ended the regular season by winning the regional championship and then went on to compete in the Kentucky High School Athletic Association Class State 1A Track and Field Championship on Friday, May 18th and Saturday, May 19th, 2018 at the University of Kentucky. And whereas the Danville Admirals finished their season by winning the KSHAA Class 1A State Championship, the first one since 1990. The City Commission would like to congratulate the team and coaches on their outstanding year and representation of Danville, Boyle County, and whereas the Danville High School track and field team players are outstanding role models to the youth of Danville and Boyle County. All of the members are applauded for their exemplary attitude and contributions both on and off the field. And whereas the Danville High School boys track and field team members and coaches are shining examples of focus and dedication to be the best they can be as a team, coming together to accomplish great things, they are to be commended. Now, therefore, Mayor G. Michael Paris and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville on this 29th day of May 2018 do hereby congratulate the 2018 Kentucky State High School Athletic Association Class 1A State Championship Danville Admiral Boys Track and Field Team and encourage the citizens of Danville to congratulate them on their success and representation of Danville, Kentucky. How about a hand? Now we're going to do like we did again. Name, rank, serial number.
My name's Garrett Glaze. I ran the mile and the 2 mile. I'm a junior.
My name is Gabe McKnight. I'm a sophomore, and I ran the 110 hurdles, 300 hurdles, 200-meter dash, and the 4x400 meter relay.
I ran the 4x1, the 4x2, the 4x4, and the 200.
What's your name, bro?
Hey, I'm Ryota Kanahara. I came from Japan. I'm sophomore, and I run hurdles.
I'm Trace Walker. I'm a junior, and I threw discus.
No seniors? Okay. Yeah, that's right. What's the next step?
Midway.
Sure.
And I'm going for pre-vet.
Super. All right, coaches, your turn.
She loves to.
No, I
she
don't.
loves to talk.
I'm Shatonia Miller. I'm one of the assistant coaches, and I coach jumps.
I'm Coach Kelvin Dookie Turner. I coach sprints and relays.
And I'm Chris Fairhoven, head coach of the Danville Admirals.
Anything you want to say about these men?
Well, I wish we had more here tonight, but like I said, we just graduated Friday night, and super proud of this team, super proud of them, not only for the school, but for the community. Just kind of piggybacking on what Coach Wagner said. It's a big deal. We're proud to keep Titletown, not just for football, but we're also a track town, as we're evidenced tonight. And it's nice to have won in front of Coach Plummer, who got us on the map, and it's nice to do this with Coach Atkins over here, who's had a few titles of his own at Danville High School. So it's nice to win in their presence, because they sure have put the title town on the map, and we're just glad we can keep the tradition going.
Excellent. How about another round of applause? Well done, sir. Thank you all. Cake, all that good stuff out there. Mr. Atkins, you want to tell us of your previous athletic prowess, unbeknownst to us?
Well, what I would like to tell you all tonight is that you see the three Danville High School coaches that came up. Kevin Cottle had the honor of coaching all three of them, so that's the real honor that should be bestowed tonight.
I think that's news all the way around up here.
I coached one of them.
Three of them, right?
Well, in all seriousness, like football, how many communities can make this kind of a claim?
Yeah.
And they're all obviously very focused young people. They're very talented and dedicated young people. And
they're fast young people.
They're fast young people.
Very fast.
And as I look out here, they're mingling young people. There's a lot of blue and white and black and gold out there mingling, and that's as it should be.
And they are outstanding student athletes. You know, the student part, if you look at the Advocate Messenger about outstanding students of the week academically, you see a lot of those students from both schools being included in that. So academic is always first. Good group.
I will move that we accept that proclamation into the order, or into the record as well.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Atkins, what was your record? How many state championships with the girls did you have?
It's about those kids tonight, not about me, right?
I want to inform the public that you're a multi-talented individual.
You said monkey talented? What'd you say?
Multi.
Heck going. I was trying to think about that. Let's see. 81, Class 2A. 82, Class 2A runner-up. Then 83, 84, and 85, Class 2A. But then my legacies at 86, 87, 88, and 89, the girls also won even after I was demoted as the coach.
That's a great run. That's a great run.
Yeah.
Is there anyone here from the Garden Club? Front and center, ladies.
I'm really just a journey to go home after all that. Cake and ice cream.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Line hour.
Nice to meet you. Good to meet both of you. Ladies, I have a proclamation. This is for National Garden Week, June 3 through 9. Whereas gardeners have a passion for nurturing the beauty and resources of the earth through the planting of seeds, the care of all plants, and the riches of their efforts. And whereas gardeners seek to add beauty, splendor, fragrance, and nutrition to our lives through the growing of herbs, vegetables, foliage, flowers, and whereas gardeners work to preserve our country's traditional spirit of independence and initiative through innovation and hard work. And whereas gardeners advocate the importance of all creatures, large and small, that share our world and their roles in a balanced and productive ecology. And whereas gardening furnishes a challenging and productive activity for our citizens, for those just learning, as well as those having years of experience. And whereas gardening promotes a healthy lifestyle that lasts a lifetime, helps reduce stress from other areas of our life, teaches that rewards can come from diligent efforts. And whereas gardening enables members of garden clubs across the nation and the world to serve others in the communities where they reside and work. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor G. Michael Paris and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville hereby acknowledge the importance of gardening and the numerous contributions of the Garden Club of Danville and designate the week of June 3 through 9, 2018 as National Garden Week, urging the citizens of Danville to participate in activities supporting this effort. Ladies, thank you. You're welcome. Floor is yours.
I'm glad you had to read that, not me. And this is a hard act to follow. This is the third or fourth time, I think, that we've commended a proclamation to you celebrating National Garden Week. And we have a few activities planned for next week, including providing floral arrangements to various businesses and groups throughout Danville. And we'll have a display at the library. It's an honor to be here and have the contributions of so many gardeners across the country celebrated here in our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commission, do I hear a motion to approve the proclamation?
I move to approve the proclamation, please.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, ladies. I
Ladies,
can't
yes.
grow a thing, so I'm envious.
Item 5 is the commission reappointment that you have before you. I'd like to recommend that Terry Manon be reappointed to Planning and Zoning Commission. He has served since May of 2014. This completes his first term. He's been a good member. I expect he'll continue to be as good, if not better, in the next 4 years.
I move to accept the mayor's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We're in discussion.
Comment, he has done a good job.
Any further comments? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 6 is the Energy Efficiency Project update. Mr. Wright?
What'd you run in high school and where did you go to college?
Football and baseball, not track. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As the screen comes down, we wanted to give you an update. The last time I was here giving you an update on this project and where we stand, Mr. Stephen Duff was standing here with me, and Stephen Duff has received a promotion, and so we got an upgrade, in that we got Amanda Gardner, and she is now your project manager and doing an outstanding job. So I want to say before we start the presentation, both of our organizations have been working very well, collaboratively and in a team spirit. As you know, this is construction, so there are good days and there are bad days, but we work through all of those issues together and we get to resolution so we continue to move the project forward. And so I think I'm excited about where we are. I'm excited about the progress that we've made. I hope you all have recognized a lot of the improvements, and we'll certainly see that, and the community sees that as well. But I wanted to give Amanda an opportunity to have her debut before all of you this evening. So she will actually give the presentation, and I will stand by and smile. How do we advance?
This mouse or this
Just use the keyboard? Okay.
Great. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having us. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because it's not nearly as exciting as state championships. We've completed a lot of work here at City Hall, so I'll start here. We had quite a few comfort issues in this building, and we've gotten most of those corrected. Not to say that Erica doesn't give me a call every week and tell me something else is wrong, but we're getting through them as we can. We've done a lot of cleaning and repairs on various units throughout the building, including your cooling tower and your water loop. We've treated that water loop and installed a new filtration system, and that's obviously very important when you're running water source heat pumps. We've added your sump alarm wiring for connection to the building automation system at Earl's request, And we've put a new Corovac pump, which is your exhaust system in the police department's Sallyport area, so that they don't have carbon monoxide poisoning. We have also completed, as part of the project scope, the structural engineering study, which allowed us to put the makeup air units on the roof, the installation of these mini splits in your vestibules for comfort as people come in and out. We installed 4 new water source heat pumps, 2 in the police department and 2 in the administration area, the 2 new makeup air units, so the ladies taking the water bill payments aren't freezing to death anymore. We did an air and water balance to make sure everything was functioning as it should, and then we upgraded your interior lighting to LED for energy savings. We do have some upcoming work still to be done here, which includes the boiler cleaning and repairs. Obviously, we had to wait till summer to do that. And we're going to be integrating all of this site and all the other sites into a city-wide building automation. And we'll be doing owner training with City Hall personnel and personnel at all the other sites so they can control their own schedules. And then we have a few punch list items, as you do. We've also been doing work at Community Arts and Fire Station number 2. At both sites, we corrected a few comfort issues. We did exterior lighting at Fire Station number 2 and some roof flashing repairs that were from a previous construction job. And then we have, obviously, the building automation integration and owner training to do at both sites. At Millennium Park and the wastewater treatment plant, we had some issues at the maintenance garage, so we took care of those. And we are doing interior lighting, or have done our interior lighting. We're getting ready to do your sports lighting probably in June. At the wastewater treatment plant, we did a few minor HVAC things and then interior and exterior lighting both. At your parking garage and transportation office, we've done a lot of lighting, interior lighting, accent lighting, pole lighting, and we will be reprogramming those lights. So if you go in the parking garage and some areas look really bright and some look really dim, that is going to be rectified. On your water meter project, which has been the biggie, we have your power service upgrade at the 4th Street Water Tower done, your radio base station startup and commissioning done. Census has come in, they have the system, and they've done owner training with billing and Chris's group. As of now, we've installed nearly 6,000 water meters, which is about 75% of the project. We have about 1,500 more to go, along with commissioning of the entire system and the punch list items. And I think for that many, it's gone pretty smoothly. And that's really all I have as far as the project. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Earl, any comments you want to make?
I do. I want to give Anthony and Amanda credit, and Steve Duff before them. Going through the process, it's a little bit like herding cats, and a lot of cats, because there's people spread out all over town. Is that fair? Yes. And Amanda's done a good job keeping track of everybody and running around and keeping us on track too as questions arise, making sure we get those answered in an appropriate time frame. So give them credit for doing a good job so far.
Thank you.
Anything else?
So the lighting in Millennium Park, that's been in the ball complexes and the restrooms and that sort of thing?
Yes, in the buildings, obviously the concession stand area and all those, and the restrooms and so forth. The lighting is done on the interior. We will be also changing the lighting around the ball fields. We did not get the kind of progress we had hoped with being able to get the lighting that goes around the road with Kentucky Utilities. At some point, I guess they may upgrade it, but they're going to see some very improved lighting, at least on all the ball fields, and maybe that will stimulate them to do a little bit more on that.
Now, who does the actual work? Do you contract that out, or is it you guys, or how's that?
Depends on the actual, well, depends on the scope.
Yeah, the recommissioning work here at City Hall has mainly been our trained employees, our technicians. The HVAC work, the project work, has been Knott's Mechanical. IEC did the electrical. National Lighting is doing all the lighting for the project, and then we've got UMS doing your water meter installation.
So we act as general contractor over several subcontractors, and as Earl indicated, it's quite a process to keep all of those teams moving in the right direction and keep everybody on task, and obviously getting the kind of results that we're hoping to get. expect to get, really.
Better get.
Yeah.
At what point in your process are you at that we'll start seeing some numbers? I mean, this whole thing is for us to see savings down the road. At what time do you start reporting that? Are we getting
Sure.
close to that point, or?
Right now, any savings that you're recognizing are called construction savings, and so they really aren't part of the guarantee yet. After we get through substantial completion, we sign off on the project, then the clock begins on that first year of guaranteed savings. So the benefit of doing some of the areas like lighting and so forth that bring savings early is you get pre-savings before you even get into the contractual numbers.
Anything else? We thank you for coming, being with us tonight, and we thank you for the work you're doing and the way you're doing it.
It's been an honor to be here tonight, and congratulations for the city of Danville and the excellent work that the teams have been doing. I'm really impressed. Pretty significant, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Safe travels. Item 7, unless there's anything else you want to talk about on that. Item 7 is the fiscal year 2018-2019 proposed budget presentation. Mr. Scott, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Commission, and members of the audience and the public that are here in the audience, rather. I'm pleased to present to you tonight the proposed budget for the next fiscal year for the city of Danville. Danville has a somewhat complex operation, and necessarily this may be a little bit longer than some of the other topics we've discussed earlier tonight. But please bear with me as we go through, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. We've gone through this proposed budget in an earlier format, in the preliminary format about a month ago. There have been some changes made in this budget, but let's talk about the proposed budget. This is a balanced budget as required by law. It balances resources and appropriations. It facilitates the provision of our essential services to our citizens, and it is recommended for your approval. As you know, and I remind both you and the public that under Kentucky law, the city manager is responsible for preparing and submitting for your consideration 30 days prior to the end of the fiscal year a proposed annual budget that is balanced in terms of resources and appropriations. The board is required to vote on a proposed budget prior to June 30th, 2018. We sometimes think of a budget, whether it's household budgets or other budgets or maybe even city budgets in different ways, but budgets, and particularly the city budget, does serve a number of key functions. It is our legal document through which the commission carries out its legislative and legal responsibility to appropriate funds sufficient for the adequate and proper functions of the city. Beyond being a legal document, it's a decision-making tool for implementing the goals of the city commission as you set those for the city, and quite frankly, it often involves choices, and sometimes those are difficult choices in terms of funding priorities. It is a management tool for the city manager and the department heads as we use it to plan and to administer and control cost in order to deliver the essential services for our city residents in each of our departments. And hopefully it's a document that also helps our citizens and also even our employees understand the type and level of services that will be provided either directly by the city or through those city agencies or joint city-county agencies that we fund with some level of funding, providing finances to support those services. As I mentioned, our city business has grown and is a bit complex, and our 2018-19 proposed budget consists of several different parts. It's the general fund budget, our utility fund budget for both water and sewer, and other activities, and we have a number of minor fund budgets and our capital budgets that sets forth the planned expenditure for capital next year and a additional 9-year forecast of upcoming needs. All of these are generated after hours of thought and consideration, and I am appreciative of all those who participated, including the department heads and the management staff particularly. In this year's budget, I attempted, and I'll attempt again in giving you this presentation, to again point out that earlier we clarified our collective understanding of where we are financially right now as we look to next fiscal year. For our general fund, the total fund balance as reflected in our audit for the last fiscal year completed, and that was fiscal year 2016-17. That total fund balance was, the remaining balance, if you will, was $9,932,934. We have within that balance the amount of $783,452 of restricted funds, meaning that the general fund as of June 30th, 2017 had an unrestricted fund balance of $9,149,482. We, as I mentioned, have carefully looked at our anticipated resources and appropriations for our current fiscal year, and we've concluded that in this current year, our total fund balance will further decline, and on June 30th, 2018, be the amount of approximately $8,397,121. This decline is in part necessary because we intend to expand between now and June 30th. We need to purchase a new fire truck in the amount of $1.5 million. We have some parks and trails capital improvements we plan to make, and that's $259,100. We're going to make a capital upgrade to our fire station number 2 in the amount of $200,000, and we're going to complete the relocation of our 911 communication center at the cost here in the general fund of $250,000. So when looking ahead to our priority that we have identified for the next fiscal year budget, we think the total fund balance at the end of our proposed fiscal year expenditures for the next year, 2018-19, will have a total fund balance that will again further decline and will be approximately $6,016,293 on June 30th, 2019. So, you know, as we go from almost 10 million to 8.3 million to 6 million in our fund balance, these are, if you will, plans for our expenditure in these prior, current, and next fiscal year to meet the needs as our commission has identified and as we've implemented in the past year and in the future year. I will say, just as a comment though, as we continue to decline in that balance, we probably next year may need to look at our adequacy of resources and or some other adjustments, because we cannot continue to have a decline in our total fund balance beyond some reasonable point. So, you know, for the upcoming fiscal year, we've identified through our retreat and earlier discussions a number of key assumptions and priorities that are I've bullet pointed here in this letter to you. Our proposed priorities and goals are for the next fiscal year to operate within the existing tax structure for this fiscal year of 2018-19, to deliver and continue to deliver essential services in a cost-effective and reliable manner. We intend to protect the safety of our citizens, which again requires upgrading to a new fire truck and the construction of a new fire station, and continued funding of our first responders, police and fire, to provide those safety response to our citizens. to provide greater oversight in funding all parks and recreation programs to maintain and improve our quality of life throughout our city. 2, as required by law, to fully fund our pension obligations to employees and retirees.
What is that amount this year, by the way?
You mean the percentage or the amount?
The dollar amount.
The amount of additional is somewhere in the range of, Michelle may have to help me, I've got number crunch after going through this. It's some $300,000 or $400,000, $350,000 additional contribution this year, and we'll talk about the compounding effect for the next 10 years later in the budget.
Okay.
But we're paying pension contributions well above $1 million annually now on.
Michelle probably knows that number off the top of her head.
Heart.
She's back.
Michelle, how much is the pension contribution additional this year?
Instead of $700,000, it ended up being around about $200,000 to $300,000. It's according on how much overtime that we have budgeted into it.
Thank you.
And so in complying with those requirements and to fulfill our moral obligations to pay those pension obligations, it is going to take more money in the future. We intend to continue to make improvements to our streets, roads, and sidewalks, to balance and continue funding support for economic development efforts and activities locally, to continue to fund, although in somewhat of a reduced fashion, our approved and designated community service agencies, to give additional attention to make further improvements to our city cemeteries, and to continue to supplement from our general fund. And this is going to require some thought as we prepare the budget for next year. Our current process of transferring from our general fund monies to key programs that do not break even financially on their own. And those are our parking operation, our parking garage, the garbage operation that we operate, our museum, and our cemeteries. Those are not financial profit centers. And to plan for the future needs of our city in both the general fund and utility fund. And this is probably a good point to say, part of that planning is also going to be a in-depth look at the competitiveness of our salary structure and benefits for our employees who deliver all of these services on our citizens. And it's been pointed out earlier that we may be falling short in that effort in the last few years, and there will be a honest and thorough look at that in the next fiscal year. I would suggest, Commissioners and Mayor, as I go through the cover letter, if you wish to, as we did earlier, because this will get somewhat into the weeds a bit as we get into the various funds, you might pull the cover memo separately from your budget, and you could follow along in the proposed budget if you wish, as I go through the summary. But the proposed 2018-19 fiscal year general fund budget is listed on pages 1 and 2 of that budget. And on page 1 is the summary for all funds. And it summarizes for all funds that our total city resources next fiscal year are $61,750,952, which includes all funds carry forward balances. Our appropriations are $51,658,276, and our reserves are in the amount of $10,092,676 as we view the budget for the next fiscal year. The general fund summary is presented on page 2. It lists the total budgeted resources of $34,807,047, and that includes the prior year's fund carry forward balance of $8.3 million essentially. The biggest change in resources next year is special purpose revenue, where we contemplate issuance of a bond in the amount of $9.5 million that will be used to build a new fire station and to reimburse the general fund for that new fire truck that we're going to pay for before the end of this fiscal year. With your approval of this budget, we'll begin work on the necessary bond rating reviews and so forth, and attempt to have that bond issue, if this budget is approved, in either late July or early August, as rates are rising, and it would behoove us to act sooner rather than later if we proceed in that fashion. With regard to appropriations, next year in total, they're anticipated to be $28,790,764 for the general fund, which consists of both of the operating expenses of $12,497,130 and non-operating expenditures of $16,293,634. The biggest change in appropriations is in the non-operating expenditures for capital expenditures in the amount of $12,074,208. As mentioned earlier, these expenditures are related to the construction of a new fire station, the various other capital expenses listed in our FY 219 capital budget, and also completing the city's energy efficiency upgrades, which we heard a status report on tonight. Those upgrades are, of course, guaranteed by the contractor to recover the capital costs made over the expected lifetime of the operation of the capital improvements. The general fund summary on page 2 shows that the total available appropriations are $34,807,057. Total appropriations are $28,790,764, and the total fund balance will be, as projected, $6,016,293 on June 30th, 2019. There's a lot of numbers here, and I'm trying to hit the high points, and these are large numbers, and embedded in them, of course, are lots of activity that we might get into a bit more talk about, a discussion about in just a moment. But on page 3 of the proposed budget is our revenue projection for next year. You know, people might ask how we're doing. We're doing okay. You know, we're growing somewhat, but no changes were made in the manner in which the revenues were projected for the next fiscal year. In other words, we've used the same methodology that has proven to be accurate in the existing year and in prior years. And so that total revenue, I think, is an accurately produced figure of $26,409,936 as rounded up. Again, we're not anticipating any changes in tax rates or taxes for the next fiscal year. This proposed budget does reflect that, again, no taxes will be increased, including property taxes. We're required by law to levy the lowest compensating tax rate, which is contemplated with this budget, and no other tax rates are changes are planned or anticipated. The next fiscal year does reflect the first full fiscal year of our increase in payroll license fees that were increased to 1.9%, and our net profits fees of 1.75%. And so those are generating and will generate for their first full year of implementation those increases in revenue as indicated. Our occupational license fee, for example, is the largest single generator of revenue, and for the next fiscal year that's anticipated to generate $8,100,000.
Was there any, other than the increase in the tax itself, was there any growth figured in that amount?
Let me defer to Michelle on that point. I believe there was a modest growth, but I'm thinking it's small.
There was a little bit of growth put into it, but as you know, that we've lost a couple of factories and they've been phasing out. This is going to be the next year that we're going to see the phase out, so it kind of offset each other in our minds that I'm figuring this because some of the factories or some of the places left, they were going in phases, and this will be their phase to drop off even more.
So
It's not that we've lost
really.
anybody new,
Yeah.
it's all the ones that we've known about, but they were a phase out over a 2 or 3 year period of time.
And again, the largest change in revenue is the special purpose revenue, already mentioned, $9.5 million anticipated from the issuance of a bond to generate funds to build our new fire station and to reimburse the general fund for the fire truck that we'll purchase prior to June 30th. Our city services are listed in the budget from pages 4 to 11. And again, for anyone in the audience who may wish to follow this or know more about this, this will be completely posted on our city website probably tomorrow. And so we are completely transparent in terms of our budget and numbers that we show here. So I wouldn't bother about taking real specific notes tonight, but there will be that information available on our website. We're planning to continue in the next fiscal year all our current city services. We're not planning on reducing or curtailing any of those, again, without increasing any taxes. And just to enumerate those quickly, they're key, important services. They include law enforcement, code enforcement, fire protection, emergency 911 dispatch with the additional now of emergency medical dispatch being provided, public works, finance, administrative and legislative services, our cemetery, our garbage services, our parking, stormwater services, and other services such as parks and recreation that are provided either directly by the city or through a community agency or joint city-county agency. We discussed earlier in my preliminary budget request of you that the general fund, I am recommending the authorization of a limited number of new full-time positions. We have been on a very almost no growth in employees since the recession, and in order to do more, we need more staffing capability in a more complete way. And so those positions, as recommended earlier and repeated here tonight, would be the establishment of a new position of Human Resources Director, a 911 telecommunicator, as we're picking up the medical dispatch service as well. The new position of Director of Information Technology, which is a massaging really of an existing position to recognize the overall management role that needs to be provided by that department, and the creation of one new IT technician position, and to have an additional public works employee. I mentioned here, and I'll say again, it is also anticipated that additional emphasis will be given in the next fiscal year to addressing parks and recreation needs and services throughout the city, but we're planning to do so without the addition of any full-time staff. Each department's proposed budget is detailed in this from pages 4 to 11 that I will not go through at the present time, as you've seen this before and those have not changed.
Could I ask a quick question? We heard a lot about from the public about our use of consultants. Is that contracted services, is that included within that number?
Under the administration, let me, no, help me to recall.
On contract services and in legislative, that's where a lot of the consultants for the park study, for the signage study, the wayfinding signage study, where we'll take out for to do the comprehensive wage study. That will all come out of that line item. And then, of course, there's other things that do come out of that line item that are normal things. And that's also the line item that our new quarterly newsletter comes out of.
Is that pretty consistent with the prior year? I don't have my last year's budget.
It has not been increased significantly from the prior year, if at all.
Some things got held over to this year, like we haven't finished paying for the wayfinding signage thing. We didn't figure we'd get finished with it. It's still budgeted, part of it for next year. Finished the park study, we haven't finished it yet, so some of it got carried over for next year. Just our normal regulatory things, and then, of course, like the money that's in there that was extra that we had said we were thinking about doing the wage study, but Mr. Scott had said we were definitely doing it now, is in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, and we had a brief discussion regarding of significance to this proposed budget and our future budgets for the next 10 years, is the now required phase-in of higher employer county employees' retirement system contributions, and those rates that have now been solidified to be 21.48% of payroll for non-hazardous employees and 35.34% of payroll for hazardous employees that will be in effect and required of the city to pay as of July 1, 2018. So our state law, and it is being challenged by the Attorney General and some aspects of that in litigation, but it does now provide that those rates may be increased by an additional 12% over the prior year's rates for each year for the next 10 years. So those actual rates that might be implemented are to be based upon timely actuarial evaluations that are to be contracted for by the County Employees Retirement System Board of Trustees. So we don't know what those might be in future years, and it's not necessarily that they will be 12%, but it will depend upon how our cash flow for the retirees of the CERS and future projections come about. But certainly it sets the stage that I think we all need to be both mindful of and honest with regard to reflecting upon, that if we're going to, as a city, have to make successive increases in contributions above what we've made for the next 10 years, it's going to somewhat reduce our flexibility in making appropriations or providing for other services, absent either new revenue sources or the changing how we do business somehow. Those might
So
be.
12%, whatever number you have this year, in 6 years it'll be twice that.
Well, you got 12% this year. Next year it'll be 24%. The year after that it'll be 36%.
Also,
So it's a compounding.
So that's how it's going to work.
That's how it's going to go.
For 10 years.
If the actuarial reports suggest it's necessary, and that's a future projection nobody knows, but if the law permits that to occur, so that will turn out to be, if it's aggressively required, a large number.
And Michelle, have we done any kind of back of the envelope calculation? I think this commission needs to, and the public needs to have some idea of how much money we're talking about here.
We've done a preliminary study on that and talked about the numbers, but we can get something more formal to you all. That
We don't have that prepared tonight.
Yeah, I
but,
don't
you
have
know,
it with me in front of me tonight, but we can get something more formal. We've looked at the numbers and the cost over the
We understand it's a
years.
fluid situation, but we've got to begin to look and realize what's out in front of us.
This budget I'm proposing tonight does, as I recommended earlier in the preliminary budget proposal, recommend that cost of living adjustments be provided in the amount of 2% for all full-time and part-time employees effective with the beginning of the fiscal year on July 1, and up to 1% merit raise for all full-time employees with the same effective date, except for the city manager. Neither the COLA nor the merit raise would apply to the city manager. Changes in my compensation, if any, would be dependent upon your review. That's next scheduled for December of 2018. I would mention, and this is a great thing that the state does, the General Assembly in 2018 did renew the state salary supplements to pay all qualified police officers and firefighters the $4,000 annual salary supplement, and also the pension contribution required on those. And that's a great thing that they did that. Otherwise, we might have more of a competitive issue to deal with locally. As I mentioned, next year we're going to have a comprehensive and honest look at our compensation package for all employees, and I intend to try to complete that by January 1 of 2019, so that we will have adequate time to have discussions of those in the preparation, as it might affect the preparation of next year's budget.
Would you mind elaborating a little bit on that $4,000 annual salary supplement? Just kind of clarify that for me a little bit.
Sure. Going back now since probably 1977 or 8 or 9, somewhere along in there, the state implemented a state salary supplement that would pay for qualified, that means trained, police officers to supplement local salaries. The state picked that up, and I actually had a hand in doing that as a lobbyist for the League of Cities back in those days at the end of a federal grant that initially paid that salary supplement. And some years later, after the police initially had that provided for them, the firefighters were successful in getting the state to also provide it for them. And since that late 70s or early 80s, state supplements to some degree have been paid on the to qualified, meaning trained police and firefighters. It hasn't always been at that amount. It's been increased over the years to now be the amount of $4,000, and it was that amount last year. It depends upon the state's funding resources in order to fund that, but they've done it consistently since the late 70s, early 1980s.
Does it have a cap, or is it?
Well, it's $4,000 per officer. That is
Per
the
officer,
cap.
okay.
Right.
There's a cap of $4,000 per officer, and then there's an overtime adjustment also that comes through the incentive program. For any unscheduled overtime that they get extra money from that too.
Thank you.
So that's a great thing that the state does. Let's turn, if we may, if there are no further questions as we go through this, and I appreciate the questions. On pages 12 and 13 are the listing of community agencies and non-departmental agencies, and these include our city-county partnerships. In general, for the next fiscal year, this proposed budget, well, specifically, let me not say it in general, let me say it another way. 3 community agencies have a recommended reduction of 25% instead of the earlier 50% that I had in the preliminary budget. Those 25% reduction in city funding would be Family Services, Great American Brass Band Foundation, and the Wilderness Trace Child Development. All other community agencies funded last year have a recommended funding reduction of 50% in this proposed budget. Regarding our city-county agency funding, full funding is provided for the Danville Bull County Airport Board as requested, that amount being $15,000. Full funding for the Danville Bull County Planning and Zoning is provided at that requested amount of $75,000. As discussed earlier, this budget recommends that the regular allocation made last fiscal year in the amount of $145,000 be sustained, but that it be split 50-50 between the Heart of Danville and the Economic Development Partnership. You recall discussion that in prior years, the Heart was receiving a larger share of that funding. This reflects the desire, I think, to be equal in treatment, but to affirm our continued support of $145,000 for that economic development effort. Our Danville County Senior Citizen Center is fully funded at $66,500. And under this proposal, the Danville County Parks and Recreation Board does not receive a direct allocation as we've done in years past, but would be administratively funded under a newly established account, City Parks and Recreation, which is funded at near their recommended amount of $240,000. And let me explain that as recommended. This is listed on page 13, and you might wish to turn in the budget to page 13, as I do. These are our non-departmental expenditures, which in total, as you note, are $2,524,069. These generally include the categories of insurance reserves, some of those direct appropriations I've just mentioned, the City Parks and Recreation account of $240,000, neighborhood parks account of $100, a neighborhood parks reserve account $140, our joint funding of the city-county disaster and emergency services of $72,005, our local economic incentive of $10,000 that we give for certain industries that meet the job creation criteria that we've agreed to previously. Some other minor expenses, larger, the operational transfer to cemetery of $200,000, contingency account for the general fund transfer, other transfers to those agencies that are not profit centers. Again, those are museums, our garbage operations, our parking structure, grants to make streetscape improvements, and some other minor funds, all total $2,524,069. With regard to Parks and Recreation.
Ron, can I back up just a minute?
Yeah, sure.
I want to back up. At some point, we need to go back and look at the relationship of planning and zoning with the city and the county, because while we've upped ours, they've decreased theirs. It's one of those partnerships that has migrated over time, and at some point, I'd like for us to go back and look at that.
We certainly can do so in the next fiscal year. With regard again to Parks and Recreation funding on page 13, early in the next fiscal year, if not sooner, we expect to receive the results from a master park study that the city paid to have conducted. And you'll recall that Boyle County declined to share in the cost of that study, even though we requested that they do so. This study is to address the comprehensive needs of Parks and Recreation on a citywide basis and not limit planning for future needs or investments to just Millennium Park. In recent years, the city has made significant investments in capital improvements in just Millennium Park, including the amount of $457,971 in our energy upgrades that are underway that will provide more efficient lighting and do the heat and air for the systems in Millennium Park. These are expenditures, again, that the city is making, and we have not asked the county to participate in those. Maybe we should, but they were part of our overall upgrade in our facilities to reduce our future energy costs. The point here is that we have invested significantly in Millennium Park. We've done it through the ad hoc committee in prior years, now for several years, and we have needs outside of Millennium Park that we have not previously addressed. In our current operation with the Danville County Parks and Recreation Board, there is the stated concern by that board and by the county that any funds appropriated to that board be limited to improvements in Millennium Park. And the logic behind that, and I guess there is a logic maybe, is that the county views the city parks as city's responsibility, not county. So putting their money in the joint pooled operations, they want limited to Millennium Park. We've done a lot of that, and it might be time to not only look at our neighborhood parks, but maybe change some of the planned expenditures in Millennium Park, given our heavy investment in that Millennium Park to date. Recently, too, Boyle County did indicate that their priorities for future expenditure in Parks and Recreation matters will be limited to those to be made in Millennium Park, and they, as a county government, will no longer share with the city maintenance cost of the Bunny Davis Pool and Recreation Complex, or those, again, related to city parks. So it's incumbent upon the city and myself as city manager to examine all alternatives as we seek to continue to provide cost-effective parks and recreation opportunities for our citizens. So we do need, and maybe, Mayor, you were alluding to the fact that in Parks and Recreation, we might need to reach a new agreement with the county on sharing expenses or how we operate jointly in the Parks and Recreation, with the planning and zoning. Probably the same, I would say, holds true in the area of Parks and Recreation.
And I think with the new study to be unveiled, if you will, I think that gives us an opportunity to just step back and say, how do we adapt and change going forward?
Well, that is a good question without an immediate resolution, but, change does require some change in approach, and the change in approach recommended in this proposed budget is that we no longer do just as we have done in the past and allocate $240,000 or thereabouts to the Joint Parks and Recreation Board, subject to their decision on expenditure. The proposal here tonight is that that amount of money, $240,000, be placed in that city Parks and Recreation account. That funds are to be released for operations in the Bunny Davis Pool, or Bunny Davis Center, including the pool and Millennium Park, following discussions with the city manager regarding program activities and expenses. Not a check in advance, but a discussion of how we're doing and what we're doing, and a more engaged process, I guess, with the city sitting at the table. In effect, I'm required to do that on all other expenditures through the city's budget, and this is simply putting it in the city's budget rather than transferring it to a city-county agency. The additional appropriation of $100,000 in an account also is for parks, all parks, city or Millennium, all parks capital improvements. We had talked in the ad hoc committee about the possibility of making some additional improvements in Millennium Park. We might yet do that, but it's not a guarantee that we will. This is for all capital improvements that we might make in all our parks going forward.
Just to interrupt you real quickly, when the Harshaw train people were talking, they talked about the Millennium Park lighting upgrade. That's a capital expenditure.
It is.
Have we taken that into account anywhere, or does that just fall separately under the energy audit?
Well, it's in the prior or existing budget year and carried forward. We've already entered into a service contract with them to do that, and it's going to reduce our cost as we pay them or as we share them with the county. So it's in the works and schedule for completion, and in my opinion, we should complete them because it needs to be done, because the energy costs are huge out there currently. The question that remains, I think, is that if we complete the work as we have contracted with Harshaw Train to do. Will the county, or should the county, pay some for that capital cost improvement? Because the savings to be achieved following that will benefit both the county budget as well as the city budget. So it's an item for discussion.
That's exactly where I was going with that. And I'd like to see what that number is specifically on this energy audit. I would just like to know. I mean, I don't have to know right now,
We
but
can provide that to you. and
I
the
would
other
just be
commissioners.
curious as to what that actual cost is on that.
Okay. So, this proposed budget anticipates, or at least I certainly do, having increased regular discussions with the staff of the Parks and Recreation Board, and the outcomes could be quite beneficial from having those discussions. It's not a withholding of funds necessarily, just that we're going to engage in more discussions before those funds are transferred for use.
And Ron, this proposal has, if I'm doing the math right, $480,000 set aside for parks, but it's to be used at Millennium as well as the neighborhood parks.
Yes, and these are for, and we're going to get into, that's really, I believe, largely in the public services of the city department area, and on the next page of this presentation, under our following the debt service discussion of approximately $1.5 million.
But you're earmarking $140,000 for neighborhood park capital improvements, and I don't know if we've ever set aside that kind of money, but that's a great start to looking at those neighborhood parks. We've
Well,
been saving some money.
The neighborhood parks reserve account has existed for quite a number of years. When we recognized a number of years back that Bunny Davis Center pool was on a short list of being operational, we put aside $30,000 each year for a number of years to build this up, with the idea of if we had to do a pool liner of $100,000, or if we needed to do a new pool construction, we'd get a head start on meeting our share of that cost. Now it appears it won't just be our share, it'll be our total cost based upon what the county has said.
Right.
So,
That 140 is 7 years of $20,000 apiece. We have to rebudget it every year. We don't hold over encumbrances. We're not allowed by GAAP rules to hold over encumbrances, so you have to rebudget it every year. So we had 20,000, so it's 7 years of $20,000 of
Yeah,
saving.
but it's to the point where we can do some quote-unquote good things in those parks if we don't have to do
The reserve was first set up to do, because when we thought we might have to replace a pool liner.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah.
So that was what the reserve was set up for at the beginning.
But that's a good number. Not the number we desire, but that's a
good start. It is. So with regard to additional highlights of the budget, general fund budget, pages 14 through 27, let's go into that just a little bit briefly, and I'll try not to get into the weeds too much, but our debt service in the general fund is itemized on page 14, and it's a total amount of $1,485,857 and a penny for the next fiscal year. This debt service covers many things, but it should be recognized that the debt service for our fleet vehicles, which we implemented this past fiscal year of $275,000, and for energy efficiency improvements, some debt service payment of $40,934.88, are programs that have demonstrated cost savings through just the operations, and we have guarantee on the energy efficiency improvements. We talked about other accounts, other parks improvements. On page 15, under public services, and these are again our departmental budgets, you see parks listed again there, and it's allocated $358,600. That is, again, subject to the administration of the budget after you approve it, if you approve it, this budget, and the city manager's approval. The completion of the Henson Trail, that's $88,600. To erect the gazebo in Millennium Park, $25,000 if in fact we decide to continue that plan. Install a small neighborhood playground at Henson Park at $75,000. This is part of the neighborhood comments that were generated during our master park planning study over the need to have a neighborhood in that area where none exists currently for the residents. Complete the water splash pad at the water treatment plant park, $100,000 in total, with $50,000 being funded by the stormwater education and $50,000 being funded by Public Works. And an additional $120,000 would be used to construct the Henson Trail, and we anticipate most of that being in grant money, about $100,000. Now, the other general funds account listed here on page 15, if you're following, this are in lump sum total, and those really are better viewed in detail in the attached Danville 10-year capital budget. That City of Danville 10-year capital forecast budget shows a total of $12,074,208 in general fund expenditures projected for the next fiscal year. And by department, that capital budget shows the police department, we're spending planning to spend $175,000 in capital expenditures. Those are for video cameras, $35,000. Our building repairs in the police department, the floors and walls for tile replacement, wall repairs, and various equipment in police vehicles, $30,000. Those are the major items. Again, in the fire department, they have projected the expenditure of a new fire station of $8 million. It's going to be necessary in a total to move or upgrade the main communication tower at its current location. The minimal cost of doing that, the minimum cost, is $125,000. That's allocated. We have a total of $400,000 also allocated to replace the fighters' turnout gear, their coats, and the related equipment. So that's a substantial allocation to the fire department in terms of capital improvements. I'm recommending in this budget on page 15 that we set aside the amount and plan to expend in the next year, or as it may become possible or necessary to do so, the total of $1.5 million for land acquisition to meet our future needs of the city. In communications, we don't have any additional major communications expenditures for the next fiscal year. We just have completed our upgrade, and it's being installed as we speak for our 911 center of the amount of $434,500. That largely was funded by both city funds and the reserve funds transferred to us from Boyle County to make that about a 20-year upgrade process.
Ron, what's the timeline on moving the dispatch center?
Talking with our IT director today, he says if we can have the fulfillment of the telephone connections as they have indicated that we will, that they will do, we should have our new 911 center operational in the middle of June. I want to say June 18th, but somewhere in the middle of June of this fiscal year. Okay. It may vary depending upon how fast the telephone company honors what they say they will do. That's the key.
Thank you.
Public Works, again on page 15 and in the capital budget too, we have the need to complete that Public Works garage in the amount of $640,000. Now that our other major projects such as the water treatment plant upgrade has been completed, we've provided funding in Public Works for several types of equipment. Funding to complete trails is included, as we discussed earlier. There's some other minor expenditures here in terms of equipment and so forth. One of the more significant items is in City Hall next year to replace our overall finance department computer and server to make a long overdue upgrade for our water utility billing and accounting purposes. And we're operating two systems. One of them, I think, goes back almost to the invention of DOS system. And as we have upgraded the remote reads of our water meters and so forth, we need to also complete the upgrade at this end to be able to function accurately and in a timely manner.
Ron, I'm certainly no IT expert, but well, that $500,000 sure seems like a high number for software.
I had that same conversation with our director of finance, and she assures me that's more of the entry-level system for a city robust system of the magnitude needed for what we need, and it can go upwards of that by multitudes of several X factors. So it is not a large number, although it appears to be one. The reason we haven't replaced it to date is because it seems to be a large number. But we're getting to the point where it's essential to do so, and it's essential to do so in the next fiscal year, in my opinion.
So how long will that service, do you think?
Well, if the last one has served us 20 years, that should do that or longer, I would think.
Yeah, but the way technology is
This is going to
changing.
be, our new service will be a cloud-based system so that it'll get automatic updates and stuff, and we won't have to upgrade servers at the same time. So over time, it'll save us on that kind of money, that expense. And it'll also be an all-inclusive service that we can get rid of some of our other program service fees that we pay. We pay just one service fee, so that will actually save us some money over time also. And so we're fully vetting all options that we have. Some of the programs are $2 million or and above. And so we're thinking that we can get an all-inclusive to fit our city for the $500,000.
We're not talking about QuickBooks here, are we?
No, we're not. Pages 16 and 17 of the proposed budget talk about the municipal aid fund.
Could I, before we move
Yes, sir.
to the next page, the wayfinding, the 50,000, is that all on us too? There's no county participation in that,
Well,
right?
that won't be all of the cost by any measure. That's our estimate of a meaningful amount to start a
Get it
sign,
started,
Get
yeah.
it started, and that's all our money there, yes.
Okay.
We had talked in a very preliminary fashion with the executive director of the CVB, Jennifer Kirchner, and I think she indicated as we started this process, possibly some funding would be available from their agency to help implement this. I don't know what that amount might be, and I don't know what the possibility would be to getting any other county funds or other grant funds, but this is simply a start of
Getting
a
off
process. Pages 16 and 17 then is our municipal aid fund as transferred from the general fund, and we are planning to further increase our transfer to this fund by $100,000 to a new total of $600,000 to do more paving while we're still able to access the state price contract. And we hope to keep it at the level of $500,000 next fiscal year at that increased level. And we are required and will be making the essential repairs to the Second Street Bridge, some $65,000 in the current fiscal year, and the balance of that payment around $135,000 in the next fiscal year to complete that bridge replacement. The subsequent pages here talk about very minor funds, our police safety fund, some $26,000, drug forfeiture fund, some $20,000. Renaissance fund is a closed account, basically. Our streetscape fund, we have total appropriations of $1,650,000 to address our need to make streetscape improvements. On Main Street from 5th to 4th Street, that's $250,000. We have budgeted, and there's no guarantee that we will receive, a $900,000 streetscape grant from the Department of Transportation at the state level. But if we do receive that, we'll be making improvements on Main Street from 4th to 3rd Street. And if it's not received, the general fund transfer of some $384,265 will be used to make curbing and other improvements at the intersection of Main and 3rd Streets, probably. Now, that may be subject to change if we have some discussions with DOT and have some other programs or incentives coming along, but we could sort of incrementally get to some of the improvements down there if we don't get the big grant, is sort of the thought.
What do we have to do, Ron, to increase our chances of getting this streetscape plan from the state?
I don't know that I have the answer you want to hear on that. It's a long and winding road to getting money out of the state these days. And even if you're awarded a grant, it's a long time before it's actually allocated to you. So I think just continue our conversation with the state and try to convince them of its merit is all I can say at this point.
Let's see if we can focus on that in the coming months.
We have our cemetery operations, pages 26 through 27. We've gone over this before. We're planning to make some additional paving in the cemetery this next fiscal year, as we've done previously, $20,000. Stormwater, total appropriations of $1,064,719. There's no proposed increase in stormwater fees. It continues engineering projects for subbasins and some minor project work in that budget. Our garbage fund, total appropriations of $1,006,580 as listed. Museum fund, appropriate $43,730. Those are largely for utility payments and so forth. Our parking garage, we're supplementing it with an appropriation of $480,381. Well, that's the total appropriations. Our supplement annually is in the neighborhood of $100,000. Next year, it's projected to be $107,468. We're working on completing our energy efficiency project in the garage, which will help reduce our electric cost in that garage.
And at one point, I believe you brought up the possibility of looking to subcontract out parking.
We're having discussions with operators who specialize in the management of parking structures. That could be a possibility. It's too early to say, and we have not received, as far as I know, a proposal yet to do so, but that is an open question that we're seeking to explore.
Okay.
So this overview concludes my planned discussion of the proposed general fund budget for next year. I mentioned that a total of 4 new positions are included in the proposed general fund budget. Those are for the full-time position of Human Resources Director, a new IT technician, a new 911 dispatcher, and a Public Works employee. And those are the new positions. I think we can talk about our utility fund budget here fairly quickly. We operate a very significant regional water distribution, water filtration and regional distribution system, as you know, and we also operate a regional sewer treatment facility. Our utility fund summary is on page 32, and I encourage you to turn to that in the budget, perhaps. Our listed resources for the next fiscal year, you see, are $21,213,699 for our utilities. Those consist of non-operating revenues of $7,067,050 and a fund balance carry forward of $5,050,149, as well as operating, of course, of $9,096,500. Our appropriations next year are planned to be $17,589,281. We will have a declining fund balance continuing next year because our use of borrowing funds are being expended as we wrap up and have completed all the punch list on the new water treatment plant. And while the ending fund balance next fiscal year on June 30th, 2019 is projected to be $3,624,418, as you see on that statement there, the actual remaining fund balance after expenditure of borrowed funds really will be only $624,416, which is getting into be a very small fund balance for utility operations having the scale of operations.
Ron, if you don't mind, tell me what define non-operating revenues under the.
Okay. Well, the non-operating revenues are those are defined really on the utility side on page 33 as you look there. You know, your operating revenues are your water service fees, your sewer service fees, surcharge, tap fees, labor, penalties, turn on fees, all of those. And your non-operating are revenue interest, your depreciation fund, meter deposit, and really the refinance is the big
That's the loan proceeds to do the upgrades. That's the same line item, loan proceeds refinancing, whether, we refinance something with it or not. That's the loan proceeds to start the sewer plant and to buy the utility capital this year that we were going to have to borrow for it.
So of the total revenue projected for the utility fund on page 33, in excess of $16 million, we'll be borrowing approximately $6,065,000 to cover most of the capital needs. And those include the remaining capital, as I noted in my summary, will be paid from an EDA grant. That's almost $1 million, $950,000 that we're using to make the improvements in water lines near the industrial park facility now Perryville Road. In terms of the water treatment plant operations on page 34, revenue and expenditures are detailed on this that are similar and perhaps identical to what was presented in the preliminary budget. Our total expenditures for that water treatment plant operation are $2,199,072. We're proposing and recommend that we add one new water treatment plant employee to become qualified as an operator. We have operators there who are reaching retirement age or may have returned from retirement, and it takes a while to get through the certification process, so we need to if you will, slightly overhire in anticipation of some personnel changes. You notice even in our water treatment plant operation, in a new plant, our electric service is large, $483,000. Chemicals are another significant cost. They would have been higher if we hadn't made the upgrade to our new treatment processes. and we seek to have the best bid in all of those chemicals by a reverse bid process. But it's a major operation. On page 35, just to keep moving and not to preclude questions, but on page 35, we have water distribution and sales. Total expenditure for that portion of the operation is $1,284,110 as listed. Our water distribution meters are a significant portion of the energy efficiency project upgrades. You heard tonight that many of those have been already replaced. Monitoring and helping to install those have increased our overtime in the current year and will continue a bit in the next fiscal year, but those should diminish back to normal. We're anticipating still, and I missed our project meeting today, but our goal is to complete all our meter replacements and energy efficiency projects in November of 2018. And I think we're mostly on track with that date. The following page, on page 36, is our wastewater treatment plant, and again, a fairly large operation as it accepts regional sewage to protect our health and quality of our environment and our drinking water supply. The total expenditure of $1,508,235 is shown there. The sewer treatment plant is budgeted for a major needed capital upgrade of $1.5 million, as noted in our utility capital expenditures on page 42. We have challenges currently with the maintenance and expensive cost of operating the old and obsolete UV lighting system. And we're going to evaluate that as part of the upgrade to the sewer that is necessary in the next fiscal year. On page 37 is our sewer collection rehab budget. It's $752,542 as listed. A large fluctuating cost of the budget is maintaining the sewer pumps and lift stations. We had a lot of rain this year, and we had a lot of additional expense beyond what was normal in maintaining those pumps and lift stations. And we have budgeted to borrow funds for the upgrade of our Spears Creek station that we've talked about for some period of time now. Our Perryville plant is on the following page, page 38, our sewer plant. I don't have anything particularly to add other than what's listed there. Total amount is $173,348. And then on page 40, page 40 is our non-departmental expenditures of $1,702,859 is listed. One of the changes that I recommended earlier in our preliminary budget discussions was the fact that it's time to have a full manager largely devoted to the operation of these utility systems, and that position of a utility engineer and administrative assistant are included in the recommended budget, and the wages for those positions are included here in non-departmental, page 40. page 42. Our total utility capital expenditures of $7,020,336 are listed. Those include, again, the improvements to the Spears Creek Lift Station that we've talked about for quite a while, $900,000. Our corporate drive upgrades that we're on the brink of actually beginning, of $2.4 million to improve water flow, to promote economic development and increase the safety and water supply to Perryville. Our energy efficiency project costs are included in there, as well as the improvements to the sewer plant that we've talked about previously. So I think my presentation to you of the key points is largely coming to a close here, and probably none too soon, but this, I think, is a reasonable and in some cases tight budget for the utility going forward. We are not necessarily overrun with funds that we don't have needs for, but it is a balanced budget. It meets our needs, I think, as we've discussed in our retreat and among our staff. Largely, we can never fully meet all our city needs, but I think it does a good job of continuing services and implementing the priorities that we've talked about this past year and for several years. And I would recommend it to you for your further discussion and hopeful adoption as we get into the process in June.
Any further questions for staff? Michelle, do we ever set up internally, do we ever set up depreciation funds, depreciation accounts?
We've got several depreciation accounts set up that are required when we get loans to set up, and then we have some capital reserve accounts that we have set up to take care of our capital projects every year that we fund during the year so that it doesn't hit us all at once.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything, no other comments?
Yeah, we'll make some comments. No questions for the staff. Good job. So I think Commissioner Atkins set it up for me. Parks and Rec is something we're focusing on, but it looks to me like the total proposed investment in Parks and Rec is $838,600. That's quite a bit of money. So I think we're making a good investment in Parks and Rec, and I appreciate hearing that myself. I just wanted to make that comment. And we're starting to take a focus a little bit more on the other parks in our city and our trails that are up and coming are becoming linear parks, and we need to do that for the future of our citizens and new citizens coming. So I'm really excited about that. The other comment, and again, maybe you can just help me out here. I'm maybe a little ignorant on this, but in the proposed budget, we're going to stay with 2 to 3% increase for the police and fire department, but there's also a $4,000 that may be added to their salary. Is that correct?
That has been added in some amount, as I say, annually since the late 70s or 80s for Danville and all qualified employees, fire and police. It's simply part of their total compensation that is provided as a state supplemental paid. So yes, they receive that, but the city has no match or anything on that.
Yeah. So that sounds pretty good. And then, of course, the health insurance is covered, and nonetheless, you are proposing to take a strong look at competitive salaries as soon as August for those folks. Okay.
Well, let me make sure I understand your comment. This is going to take some time to honestly look and develop some information. I said earlier, I intend to have that report available for the new city commission in January of 2019. It's going to take some period
No,
of time.
we
to
understood
actually
each
get
other. You're going to begin
Yes.
it immediately.
Kevin?
Most of my questions were answered, I think, in your detailed presentation, and they were primarily concerns brought by the public. I can't call them all concerns, they were comments. Sidewalks and streets, I think you answered that. We're going to continue to attack those, and, you know, the potholes as we can. We run into the problem of, you know, the state roads that have always been an issue. I asked you the questions about consultants. I think they just want us to be sure that when we hire one, that it's the right thing to do, which I think we do and will do. And to look at some of the nonprofits for additional funding, which you have proactively done. And then the other thing is stay competitive with our wage benefit package with regards to, all our employees, really. I know police and fire came and expressed their desires and did it well, and we've got to also have the public works folks that we need to think of, and all employees, and I know that you're getting ready to undertake that as well. And I was thinking, and I haven't asked you this, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but would it be beneficial, or would you consider maybe a committee of both employees and yourself and the HR director to kind of make sure everybody's on the same page as you go forward with the study?
Well, I had
Not
thought-
necessarily just the department heads, but it seems like there's some disconnect there, and, more communication is better than less, so. And it's just a thought, like I said, I hadn't mentioned it to you, something you may want to consider. Other than that, I like everybody else, I'm concerned about the shrinking of the carry forward. That's something that future commissions will have to be wary of and need to start looking at yesterday, I guess, or as soon as possible. But it's a good budget. It covers a lot of areas. Good comprehensive budget.
Well, and the challenge we faced 4 years ago with expanding our local economy continues to be the challenge today going forward. I think we've managed as well as we can. We've done what we can do in terms of raising revenues through taxpayer funding, but we've got to continue to focus on economic development.
Let me also just comment, if I can. I am excited about the fact that the city has become self-funded on health benefits this year. I think that's going to give us the opportunity to continue to provide the same high quality of coverage that we had in prior years, but at a significant savings. And that's an area I think that probably we, in retrospect, should have moved into maybe sooner than we have. But I think we need to look at, as has been communicated to me by Mayor Parris and maybe others, we need to look at an overall package that's attractive to employees that are now not a same set of employees. I mean, they have diverse backgrounds, ages, so we may have to get into, if we can do so, more of a range of choices within a total package that employees can select from that can better meet their needs. And that, to some degree, I think can be achieved in the next year, for discussion at least, but we will have an honest and thorough look at what we need to do to be competitive, what other cities that are comparable are doing, and then have policy discussions about what the city commission wishes to do. I had thought, Kevin, just to be direct in your response, Commissioner, I shouldn't say Kevin, to be you know, there may be a time in this process to enter into engagement with some employee groups on this. Department heads usually like to be involved in that, and the challenge is, you know, what you may think, if I can use you as an example, should be done might be different than what Mike might think should be done if you were both
That's true.
employees. And so that becomes somewhat of a problem in itself before the initial investigation. I think as we get into range of choices that might be feasible and affordable and desired, at some point, I think we could get into those meaningful conversations with employees or all employees. But I don't know that it's necessarily the best course to plan to do that from the start.
Well, that's why you get the big dollars. I leave that to you.
Any other comments? Then I will move us on into item number 7.5, and that's with regard to the salary increase and the topic that you asked for, Mr. Atkins. So, floor is yours.
Well, after that budget presentation, it leads me to do what I planned to do when I first got here tonight, and that is to open up a discussion, really not a discussion, but just to make a motion. I would like to move tonight that we reconsider the salary increases that were voted into place 2 weeks ago by the City Commission. I've had two conversations, one by a lady who lives in my neighborhood and one by a former student. And I've had lots of people who've smiled or frowned at me about this issue, but I've had two real good conversations. So I am at the point where I want to rescind my vote that was cast in favor of a 50% increase, because that's the number I keep hearing over and over again, and also the 75th percentile. I heard that number too over and over again. So I would like to move that we rescind the vote to increase the salary of the commission, which doesn't start to January the 1st, 2019 for the newly elected, the next city commission, not the current commission. So that's my motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I will second that.
And a second. Discussion.
Well, I'm sure everybody read my letter to the editor, and I stand by that. I never intend to do anything in my lifetime to destroy and hurt the morale of anybody that's an employee. I don't have employees, I have co-workers. So to the co-workers of the city, I apologize for my statements again, and my attempt to regain the status of being a public servant, not a politician, is to ask us to consider not taking a salary increase.
Mayor, if I may.
Counselor?
No, don't.
Interject. I think I appreciate the spirit of your motion and the second. However, I just want to alert the commission that the statute on the establishment of salaries for elected officials and officers is clear that the compensation must be fixed by the first meeting in May. And by virtue of that, case law and opinions of the Attorney General have been clear that it can't be adjusted after that time. So in effort to rescind the prior establishment of salary, I think would not be something that you have the statutory authority to do at this point. Now, what you do with the salary you receive is up to you. The law is clear on that should you forego any compensation, you can do that with it as you may. But by law, the compensation of elected officials has to be set by the first meeting in May and can't be changed per the statute. So I understand and respect your motion. However, I'd be in derelict of my duties if I didn't inform you of that prohibition of making any salary adjustments after the first meeting in May.
So what you're saying is to do otherwise is illegal?
I'm saying you lack the authority to change salary after the first meeting in May. The law says it has to be by the first meeting in May.
He didn't say it was illegal. He said we lack the authority, right? Well, I'd like the authority to, I better not say that, because Chase is, some people are sitting out there. Oh, that's a shocker. So to vote on this motion, is it appropriate? Is that what you said?
I would take the position that you don't have the authority to, now if the motion failed, I guess, or if the vote failed, you wouldn't have any problems. But I would think that the mere act of trying to change the compensation of an elected official is in direct conflict with the statute provided.
So what needs to occur, we have a motion on the floor. We are in discussion. You
Yes.
provide clarification. If I understand you correctly, we cannot take this action.
I would say that you lack the authority to approve that motion.
Then in order to complete this motion, your motion, sir, needs to, it's already been seconded, and therefore it needs to be withdrawn. I would think. You got any other, you can't just let it die.
I can call for the question on the motion.
Right. I mean, I've given you my legal advice on it. I mean, there's two ways of doing this. The first way is to have the second removed and the motion withdrawn. If the question's called and it's voted on and it dies, there's no problem. But if it were to
but
vote
either
on
way,
and pass, I would say it's illegal for you to do so.
Either way, regardless of the outcome, it's an irrelevant vote. Is that what you're saying?
That's my legal position. Well, I won't say
irrelevant's not the right
Yeah, I'm
term.
gonna let you that's for you to determine the relevancy. I'm just saying the legality of it. You lack jurisdiction to do that.
So if
to make a change to the previously established compensation.
Well, you complicate my life, don't you?
I don't mean to.
I know, that's all right. We're still buddies. If the motion passes, it passes. What happens if it passes?
It's a meaningless vote.
It's a moot point.
I want the attorney to answer that question.
My position to staff would be that it would not be lawful for them to alter the compensation that has been previously established by the statutory deadline.
Okay, then I'll go
despite your motion.
Okay, so then let me think about this then. Okay, so as a commissioner, I think you said I have the right to accept or deny compensation provided to me by the city.
The city will pay in accordance with the previously established compensation, but you can forego it and return it to the city, or you can donate it as you see fit. I mean, you're not required to deposit it into your bank account. You would be free, if you so chose, to donate it back to the city or donate it to anywhere you saw fit.
Can I clarify something with that statement, Stephen?
No, you can take the money back.
By just not cashing the check, the city does not get to retain that money. It will end up at the state level at some point in time as an uncashed check, as unclaimed property. So to not cash a check doesn't mean that the city retains that money. It will end up at the state level at that some time as an unclaimed property in your name.
That's accurate.
So if you wish to not do that, then you would have to cash the check and then do something else with the funds.
So you're telling me I can't alter the amount of money you write my check for?
That's correct.
Well, I've never worked for anybody I couldn't do that with. Okay, can I set it aside well, we'll talk about it later on.
I mean, we've had previous presidential candidates who said they would forego their salary, or they would donate it back to some cause or some charity or something of that nature. I mean, you can take that issue to whatever degree you wish, and you can make that public or not. But the city will be required to pay compensation as established by the first meeting of May for the next city commission.
Well, see, history is history, and you learn from your mistakes. Mm-hmm. I thought this was one of those opportunities where I could say to folks, I made a mistake, and I've been afforded the opportunity to change and correct my mistake. But the legality of what you're saying is that you're not allowing me to do that. Now, you're not. The law's
Sure.
allowing. It's not
Right.
the law. You're not.
And
The
had
law's
the
not.
commission made this decision in March and you had a change of heart, then you could have done it because it's prior to the first meeting in May. But by virtue of the enactment of the ordinance on the time frame it was enacted, then you're not afforded that opportunity now.
Okay. Well, that's, okay.
So you want to withdraw your motion, or?
No, I don't want to withdraw my motion, no. Oh, sorry. No, I'm going to be political correct in the end, but, wow, why'd you show up tonight? Nobody else knew that but you. Man.
Well,
I'll remove my second to allow you to remove your motion if you want.
Well, if you remove your
No, I'm
second,
all-
then
I'm
the
all right.
motion
Yeah,
dies for
okay.
lack of a second.
So then, well, here's the thing.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, if re-elected, then the city attorney is saying that I can then publicly or privately decide to do with
Absolutely.
the 50% additional monies.
That's
What you're
correct.
saying, right. Pay the taxes on all of it, but then donate what part I desire to donate.
That's
right?
correct.
Mr. Atkins, I think your generosity is very kind, and anybody knows you, and I've gotten to know you nicely over the last 4 years, and I know your heart's in the right place. But what we need to address here is for our entire workforce.
I
Not
agree.
just one department or two departments, but you gotta,
agree.
if you address one department or two departments, you gotta address everybody.
Oh,
And that's what Ron has said and committed to do, and that's going to be a whole lot more meaningful to everybody going forward.
But you're, well, I better leave it alone because I'm going to get myself in trouble again tonight, aren't I? Well, we have not addressed all employees the same as we've addressed the commission. And that's what my issue is at this point. And I'll leave it at that. I do withdraw my motion.
But it does stand, as we've said, we're going to get into an exhaustive study in order to look at where we are in terms of our competitiveness in our compensation. Compensation is not just paycheck. Compensation
Agree.
is everything else in total.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to review.
But I also accept the fact that whatever we do, it will not impact the employees until June the 30th, 2019 at the earliest. That's what my issue is.
I was the educator, and we appreciate that. The caveat is what was voted on doesn't start till January, 6 months into it, and if we're going to be addressing some of these folks out here, their salary, their compensation package, we're just sort of leading the way, I guess. We're setting the standard for what we want to do
Well,
in
and
the coming.
it's going to be a large undertaking. I mean, to really look across the board and compare an apple to an apple with various communities and what they pay versus what we don't pay and what we pay versus what they don't pay, and try to really get down to a comparable, that's going to be a tough chore across the board. It's going to take time to do it.
Well, the lesson learned, though, is that we should not make major decisions like this without having time to have appropriate study and to have time for appropriate input from employees and for the community. And I promise I won't do that again.
We are now in the section called Hear the Public, and as we promised earlier, this is the opportunity for the public to address anything. Take your 3 minutes at the podium on any subject that's not already been covered on tonight's agenda. We can keep rolling.
Keep rolling.
If you need to excuse yourself, excuse yourself.
I'm all right.
I may have to.
Kevin said he'll make
Anyone? Seeing not, we'll move right on into Commissioner comments. I'd like to thank Magistrate Jack Hendricks for organizing Memorial Day ceremony out at the Memorial Garden, Stanford Road. It was particularly nice to have some of the young people from the Civil Air Patrol there. That is a growing organization, and you're getting to see a lot of good things come out of that.
Kudos to Heart of Danville. Main Street Live was a big success this past Thursday. There was a lot of nice comments about our Wesger Park and the job they're doing out there. And what we learned also is when we have events like that, we need to get recycling containers out there because the regular trash can, number one, cannot hold it all, and we're missing that opportunity to recycle. So we need to do that. Moving forward, and I'm going to steal this probably from somebody else, but we know Brass Band is coming, and it's a big weekend coming up for us. We're all excited about it. And the Run for the Brass, which some of these commissioners have run in previously, is moving to Center's campus, 8 a.m. Hope to see you there.
I'd be there. I don't know where it is, though. I don't really have anything. I was going to mention the brass band like everybody else, I suppose. And I appreciate the work that our folks do in that regard to pull that off. And I'm looking forward to it. I would like to take the weatherman out, beat on him for a while. 'Cause
Good luck.
He missed last weekend pretty severely.
Well, let's hope they miss this weekend.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I know there's one I'm missing, but I can't think of it, so we'll move right on. Item 8 is payment of bills, which you have in front of you. Do I have a motion to accept the bills as presented? Hello?
I move that
Sorry.
we approve the bills in the amount of $151,222.70 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We have Resolution 2018-05-29-01. This is in regard to the line of credit for 2018-2019. Michelle, explain yourself, please.
This is the resolution that allows us to have a line of credit that's attached to our main bank account. We started this back when the funds were very, very low during the recession with the city of Danville, just in case. It just protects us if something comes up and that we need to spend money and we do not have the money at that time, or we've got a loan that's getting ready to come in, or we have a grant that we're still waiting on. Just to protect that account. It's just a protection. We do not anticipate on using it. We've only used it since 2008 a couple times. But it's just a protection there. That's all it's there for.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move, pass resolution 2018-05-2901.
Thanks, Commissioner Atkins. Do I hear a second? Commissioner Cottle, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 10 is Resolution 2018-05-29-02. This is a trust agreement with regard to workers' comp. Donna?
Stephen, Mr. Dexter says that you can approve Resolution 02, 03, and 04 all at the same time if you would like. Those are trust agreements with the Kentucky League of Cities, either for workers' comp or liability insurance.
Do I hear a motion to approve item 10, 11, and 12 simultaneously?
So move.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 13, Resolution 2018-05-2905. This is in regard to Lexington Avenue Park Renovation Phase 2 bid award, and that's what I was going to say during Commissioner comments. That is a wonderful gateway into this community. Thank you.
Looks good.
It's coming around. If we can.
Hang on just a second. We need a motion.
Move for approval of resolution 2018-05-2905.
Second.
And a second. Mr. Coffins.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. If we can get a little bit of weather to dry where the rain garden will be planted, we'll plant some of that in anticipation of the playground equipment, which is on order. This bid in front of you, the resolution authorizes the hiring of the contractor to install the equipment and the mulch and the various appurtenances tied to that playground equipment. Most importantly, they're a certified contractor for the installation of that type of equipment. The bid is $70,542, including the labor and the materials, not including the equipment itself, which has already been acquired.
Do I hear a motion to accept?
So move.
Thanks, Commissioner Atkins. Second?
Second, I thought we already did
I
that.
thought we already did it.
Do we, yes, we did do that. Sorry.
Second discussion. So,
Yeah, take that one back, too.
Take that one.
It's a double motion.
Maybe we got
I have
Any
nothing.
further discussion?
Yeah, I have nothing against this group. It's a good group, but no one else did bid on it?
No. There were some others that came to the pre-bid, but no one submitted a bid.
The number looks acceptable to you?
Yes. mhm.
Okay.
They've done some good work in the area, though.
Yeah, we compared it to some other pricing from other vendors historically, and it's a competitive price. There's no doubt about that.
Any further discussion?
Just on a different note, the final touches on Whitaker Park are really good, and it looks really good.
We got some other ideas we're still working on.
I've been meaning to say that, and I kept forgetting, so.
There's a little bit of changes too. We're gonna add some lighting, I think, a couple of spots, and there's other little things some of the guys have came up with that it's harder to explain.
Cool.
Water wall.
Water curtain, no, not on the water curtain, not yet.
If there's no other constructive comments or questions, I will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 14, Resolution 2018-05-29-06. This is the Cox Street Tower AT&T agreement. Mr. Coffey.
Thank you. AT&T has an old agreement on the West End Tower in Perryville, the small tower just to the west side of town. They're wanting to add some antenna. The way their agreement is written, structured back then, you're just providing the consent that they're adding the equipment.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Look good.
Discussion? Seeing none, Chair, call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 15, Resolution 2018-05-29-07. This is in relation to Factory Lane, which I believe we discussed
We discussed
meeting.
last time, Mayor, and the documents are not yet ready for that, so we'd like to push that to our next meeting, please.
So pushed. Anything else to come before this commission?
No executive session.
No executive session?
Whoa.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned.
We already had an executive session, though.
Very good.